Good morning, Wakaliwoods, and welcome back to Wakaliwood News. To kick off today's episode, we'll be continuing with our historical content coverage. So, Jim, what history will we be covering today?
Today, we will be going over a Native American tribe. We'll be giving a brief history of the tribe, from before the arrival of the Europeans to the present. We will also be briefly going over some details about the location of the tribe and the size of the tribe, as well as details that relate to the Europeans' relation to the Native Americans as a whole.
Indeed. Currently, we have both Dr. Anesthesia and Limon in the studios with information about this tribe. So, with that being said, Dr. Anne, tell us more about this tribe.
Thank you, Fulabi. The Navajo tribe was one of the most sizable Native American tribes in the United States. They roamed areas in the United States that are now known as the states of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. Although this tribe was mostly present in the United States, they were originally formed in Western Canada.
Due to the harsh conditions as the tribe continued to grow in size, they had to find more land more suitable for residing in. Some groups split off from the tribe and formed their own Apache tribes in different areas, but the rest of the tribe moved as a mass south into the United States. This was a much better area to live in for the large tribe, and they remained there.
Indeed, as the Navajo tribe settled into their new land, it wasn't long before the Spanish confronted them. The Navajo tribe was not affected by the Spanish as they negotiated peace with the Spanish. They traded between each other and formed a general alliance, with some raids against each other as exceptions. This pattern of alliances, trading, and raids continued until the Americans arrived.
The Americans arrived in 1846 when General Stephen W. Kearny and 1,600 soldiers invaded Santa Fe during the Mexican-American War. They signed treaties over time and formed an alliance with each other. The treaty that was signed between them allowed for peace between both Americans and the Navajo, along with allowing Americans to build forts and trading posts on the Navajo land, as long as they promised dominations and other liberal and humane measures, which they did.
Although this treaty was formed, the raids and expeditions between the Navajo people and the Spanish continued on. As a result, years later, New Mexico militia conducted a campaign against them and killed Navajo warriors, along with capturing their people as slaves and taking both their crops and dwellings. The Americans then targeted both Navajo and Apache, killing their people and destroying their things until they were forced to surrender. After the Apache surrendered, they were sent to Bosque Redondo. The Native American tribe Navajo held out for longer, but the army eventually forced around 9,000 of their people to surrender.
Even worse for the Navajo, those people not only had to surrender, but also had to walk 300 miles to Fort Summer, near Bosque Redondo for interment. The interment did not go well for the Navajo people due to the government not supplying them with adequate resources, along with crop failure and disease. A small group of Appalachi was also relocated to their area, resulting in conflicts between the two tribe remnants as they both were rivals.
The people of the Navajo tribe who survived this were soon allowed to return back to a portion of their former homeland on a reservation when the Treaty of the Bosque Redondo went into effect. The Navajo was allowed to leave this reservation only on certain conditions when given permission by the military or local Indian agent, such as for trade. These precautions put a gradual end to many raids that the Navajo participated in.
The Navajo tribe remained here for a while despite multiple minor conflicts, and they eventually became a part of American culture through their children participating in the American education system. During this time, they also served a large purpose during World War II and served a large purpose in Marine combat for delivering messages. The Navajo people were quite efficient at translating their language to English and vice versa, and people did not know their language, so it functioned well as a military code. Many of them were trained to send messages along themselves in their native tongue and translate received messages back to English.
Nowadays, the tribe is quite large and resides in the Navajo Nation, a 27,000 square mile reservation. As of the 2010 United States Census, the amount of Navajo people in the country is around 332,000, with roughly 157,000 of them living in the Navajo Nation. As for their current status, we figured that the best way to find out about this would be to ask one of the locals themselves.
That's correct. Right now we have Giorno Giovanna ready to interview one of the many Navajo members residing in the Navajo Nation. With that being said, let's get to the interview.
Thank you, Lamone. Right now I'm here at the Navajo Nation with one of the many modern-day Navajo tribe members to get some answers to what life is like for them currently. So, with that being said, Hastine, what is it like to be part of this tribe at the moment?
Well, it's a lot like anywhere else. We just tend to maintain a connection with our ancestors and our culture. Most of us speak English, but we often use the language of those before us. And we also pay tribute to our older civilizations. Actually, now that I think about it, if you look behind me over there, that's a hogan. My neighbors have one too. I think if anything, most of us do. They're pretty much identical to the huts that our tribe used to live in. We don't actually live there or anything, we just use it as a way of remembering our ancestors.
Interesting. And why do most of your people still live here?
We live here because the land here is sacred. It's bound together by the 4 sacred mountains. As it is said in the Dain Behane, the story of our creation, the Creator placed us here, where we stand right now. Each mountain from here represents many things to us, including the 4 cardinal directions.
And what else do the mountains represent?
Well, each mountain represents its own thing. Blanca Peak is the mountain of the east, and it represents the color white. Mount Taylor is the mountain of the south, and it represents the color blue. San Francisco Peak is the mountain of the west, and it represents the color yellow. The final mountain is Hesperus Mountain, which is the mountain of the north, and it represents the color black.
Is there anything else unique about being part of this tribe nowadays?
There are a few other small differences, stuff you would experience if you were an actual part of the tribe. For example, we have these unique schools that we can attend for a major in our own history. It's pretty cool to have other people recognize us like that.
I see. Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you for coming here today and telling us about your people. With that being said, Fulabi, let's get a recap of this episode.
Thank you, Giono. In summary, the Navajo tribe is one of the biggest tribes in the United States, and most of their people still remain today. Although the tribe has faced struggles with losing its people to many factors over time, especially with the arrival of both the Spanish and the Americans, the tribe survived, and it currently exists in peace, having many people even after everything that happened.
Indeed. This is all we have for our episode on the Navajo tribe. Be sure to stay tuned for more information about episode 3 of season 2. Until then, we'll see you next time in Wakaliwood News.